everyone. Chris and Cassie back with Salutations, episode 2. This one
is that the
what?
Is that the?
Possibly.
I was wondering.
We'll never know.
I was wondering if we could invite him to Sun Salutations.
Mm-hmm. This episode is entitled "Forgive Them for They Not Know What They Do." I may have said that wrong. Apologize. We have a couple good topics: forgiveness, judgment, and then observation without judgment. So a few things that came up this weekend and symbolic of this day. So
real events,
resurrection, all that good stuff. So
yeah, I wanted to begin today. Oh, I'm back in the blue dimension. I don't know what. Maybe it had something to do with the blue moon. I don't know, but I'm back in the blue dimension, and it's pretty cool here. I think it goes away after a little while.
Mm-hmm. All right, so number 1.
Yeah,
Let's talk about stuff.
I'm gonna actually go to I actually have notes today because this is, y'all have heard me talk about indoctrination and blah 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 blah. Today is Easter. If you're celebrating Easter, then hell yeah. Ishtar, whatever you celebrate today, I hope everyone had a badass day. The whole indoctrination to the thing, and I love the story of Jesus. I think it's, one of the most honorable things a human being can do. And whether you believe it or not, I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I think the story is of a man who was being crucified on a cross. Crucifixion is one of the worst ways to die. And yet that man forgave those who were doing the crucifixion. It's like, wow.
I just think it's so symbolic of everyone now. I mean, or our situation now.
It would
if
be
you look
rad.
at the resurrection, the crucifixion and all of that, people getting persecuted for their beliefs and their speaking out and their want of freedom, things like that.
Well, Jesus was that guy.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's the whole idea of Christ consciousness, which I know we didn't even say we're going to talk about that tonight.
Yeah, no.
But I think we should talk about that at some point tonight.
Yeah,
but
Jesus' name wasn't Jesus Christ. We don't know his last name for some odd reason. I'd like to know that. I bet the Vatican knows that, and they know a lot of things. But, Christ consciousness is what he found by going within.
That was something that I need to look into a little bit more. I know you did a lot of research and a lot of self-reflection and things about Christ consciousness and Christ and the number 33 when he was crucified and all these things. That's something that I want to throw out there, because if you're drawn to that, check into it. It's very eye-opening, and you start seeing the connections and how things have been kind of transformed to what they truly were into the Bible today.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're even remotely drawn towards that, I always wanted to know, and I always wanted to dig deeper. I read a lot, and I like to I've read all the Gnostic Gospels, Gospel of Thomas. All of his disciples have, all of Jesus's disciples have what?
No, just reading comments.
Have their own gospel, and they were excluded from the actual Bible, that current Bible of today, which has been edited like 300 times or so by the Catholic Church, so by the conservative Catholic Church. But if you can dig, you can find all of these books, and you have access to the rest of the Bible, and the whole Bible in and of itself is pretty rad.
And as anything, just finding what rings true to you is all part of going within and you know the truth by the way it feels. So that's just something, doing research, you know what's fake and what's factual. You feel it, and that's true with anything in life.
But yeah, forgiveness. I think being able to forgive. You know, he was a guy who found himself, and you know, through meditation or whatever he was practicing at the time. And then there's a gap between 13 and 30, I think, of we don't know. You know, there's a whole gap of where was he at that time. And, you know, if you dig really, really deep, you know, he was studying Know Thyself, and that was his message. It's
really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to look about who Jesus was, and since it is celebrated in those things.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of like 1,000 years later after he passed, they created this religion that is here today that worships the actual man. And
that's why I laughed up. I'm just going to address the comment. Someone said, I'm not into all this God squad crap. And what's funny is that we're not even talking about God, we're talking about Jesus. And that shows that there's confusion with a lot of people thinking Jesus is God.
Yeah, no, it's...
Sorry, it goes perfectly with what you said.
Yeah, no, this is I'm not remotely, I'm not religious. I'm, you know...
Yeah, we're just chatting.
If you go back and watch our episodes, we have 50 episodes of Sunday Chronicles. You'll find that I'm not, you know, I'm actually there. They feel that I'm a threat, but it's, you know, I think the story in and of itself,
it's tragic, of course, but it's very symbolic of what's going on.
Yeah, it's someone who went against the system, went against the religion, went against the. I told myself a joke today that their government is the very grand old party. So it was the VGOP. It was the same system that it is today. It was that controlled system, and the church was the same, and Jesus was against the church. And
it's interesting. It shows how history repeats itself.
Yeah, and it's happening today. And there's this twist of what it actually is, and it's gotten to the point to where that seriousness of this guy who, you know, went against the system and got killed is pretty fucked up, and it needs to be addressed. I you know, if Laz is ever interested in the actual Easter thing, you know, I'm going to tell him the truth. It's exactly what I'm saying right now. You know, there was a guy who went within, found himself, found his purpose. His purpose was to
shake it up.
Yeah, shake the system up. And you know, you'll see throughout history, Christ or Jesus found that Christ consciousness, and Christ consciousness is available
can all do
for
it.
all of us. Yeah. And that's what I was.
And that's what's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a Christ consciousness is within each. It could be Buddha consciousness. You could be the Buddha. You hear me say that all the time. Willie Nelson is the Buddha, but it's the same thing. Of you know, it's that within each of us, you be gods. Each of us have a fragment of God inside of us.
And if you dig through the layers of religion and all of that, I found that how it is all the same. It all is that. It's just you have to get through all the. You have to get through
Muhammad,
everything and do research.
Yeah, I mean, it was Buddha. Then 500 years later, it was Christ, and then Christ prophesied.
And there were Christs all over the place.
Yeah, Isaiah was a Christ consciousness. He was, you know, and you're seeing that today all throughout the world. You have these human beings that have found that Christ consciousness or the Buddha consciousness within themselves, and they're going against the system and going fucking hard. And you know, that's why we do these videos to talk to you know.
Yeah, this is just the normal, like we said, it's always the This is what we talk about, so why not film it live?
Yeah, and that's what we have. You know, I see this as part of our career. You know, this is something that we're gonna carry on with us through what we're doing. But you know, I wanted to open up with that. This whole "forgive them for they know not what they do" was inspired by a trip to Walgreens this morning, and I needed some stuff, and I went to Walgreens, and I walked in the door, my normal, you know, t-shirt, sweatpants, shoes, no socks, and I'm sure I had just woken up, so I'm sure my hair was crazy.
Just being yourself.
Yeah, just being me. Going to Walgreens in the morning, and I walk in, and it's a scene. You know, I know the girl that's behind the counter because I go to this Walgreens quite a bit, but there was 2 women in line, and the first woman who was at the register was, and this is my observation without judgment, she was probably in her late 50s, early 60s. Looked like she worked out every day. I mean, just gorgeous dress, Louis Vuitton bag, Louis Vuitton shoes that match, hair down to the middle of her back, just like a horse's mane. Just, you know, she was going somewhere, and I'm assuming it was church, because of the hour and whatnot. It's all an assumption, but this is my story, so fuck you if you don't like it. The other woman behind her was about the same age, and she looked like she had a rough go at life. You know, it was baggy clothes, she missing some of her teeth, you know, the whole thing. And I sat there, and I was like, the woman who was in front of the line, Louis Vuitton, the whole thing, and I'm going to get to nice things in a minute, but let me finish the story, saw me and looked at me like I literally walked out of the gates of hell. I mean, it was a judgment I felt her judgment. And she...
So what did you say you were wearing? What, you were just wearing like sweatpants, Converse, and...
the Hellbilly t-shirt, you know, the whole... Just kind of... But she looked at me as if I were the devil. And she was judging the girl behind the counter, and the woman that was behind her kept looking back. I mean, giving her these shit looks, and I'm just like, I see God in this woman. I see God in this woman. I love them both equally. This woman is wasting her energy judging all of us and going to church to I'm assuming going to church to do what? I mean, the guy that she's going to church for forgave the people who were basically her. You know, and that's the twist that people now need to start talking about in religion. It was just a fascinating scene. And, you know, I thought to myself today, I said, you know, the only difference between me and that conservative Christian that's in power, you hear me talk about it a lot in Sunday Chronicles, and I'm sure you'll hear me talk about it.
And you grew up.
Yeah, my indoctrination was it's a Southern Bible Belt, very heavily indoctrinated Southern Baptist. You know what I'm saying. But I say the only difference between me and that person that has latched on to this belief system is I see God in them and they see the devil as me.
Makes sense.
That's the only fucking difference.
I know from personal experience working to find compassion when people hate you or when people look at you a certain way or people just treat you poorly is tough.
Yeah.
But it's hard now being on what I
Imagine
feel the other side. I mean, we've talked about this before in Sunday Chronicles. Practicing compassion is so important because that's a positive energy to me. Compassion's a positive, loving energy. So like you just said, that woman was putting out such negative energy.
Yeah.
You could feel it and see it. And that just drags you down, and I think affects your health, your emotions, everything. So as a human, it's just hard for me now to look back and be like, in my life, and imagine that I used to judge people.
Yeah, I was so, I get judged a lot, especially here in Texas. And it's just because of the way I look, and people don't, they judge books by their covers, and that's what it is. And I'm cool with it because I'm strong, and it doesn't affect me because I still love them even though they judge me. But it's yeah, it was just I never let me cover one thing real quick. Nice things. I say Louis Vuitton bag. I'm sure it was $5,000. The shoes, I'm sure, were a couple $1,000. The dress was spot on. I'm sure, $400 or $500. Her car was in the parking lot. It was beautiful. Just dripping, the whole thing with the jewelry and everything. I love nice things. The only difference between me and her is that they define her.
And how did you observe that to be just because?
It was just kind of like this, I don't want to say, it was just like she looked at me as if I had literally walked out of the gates of hell.
And it wasn't just you, and
it was the other woman too.
It was a woman who, like you said,
had a hard time. She's had a hard time with life.
You could just tell.
And bless her for that.
You could feel the
suffered
judgment
a lot.
and by the facial expressions. I remember you telling me that.
I see your soul. I can see within. And hers was very brown.
And we all can see that.
Yeah, no,
if you start focusing on it.
It was a dark energy. And to wrap up the story, she got her stuff and she started to walk out, and the beeping system on the door went off, and myself, the woman, and then the girl behind the register kind of giggled. It was kind of like, we feel you judging us, ma'am. We feel you. Okay?
That was kind of the universe, I think.
It was,
being like,
the universe.
Just startle her or something.
And, I don't know, but, the universe knows all, and it sees all, and it feels. The universe doesn't speak. It feels your energy.
And that's why thoughts are so powerful.
Yeah, I don't know.
You can create your own reality.
But
so
you know what?
She had created, from what you've told me, she's kind of created this negative bubble around herself by judging others. Mm-hmm. So, of course, the door alarm's going to go off and freak her out. Because you told me she was, like, really scared.
She was I could feel the fear.
Because she wanted to get out.
Yeah, I could feel that. She was scared of me, and scared of this woman that was behind her because, And I don't know. It was just... But, a really tough thing to do is see God in someone that doesn't see it in themselves. It's a real tough thing to do, but you must, because we are all one. We all of creation have a fragment of God within them. And that is the one, that is the thing, and this belief system that I'm referring to, who celebrates this Easter with an indoctrination. I laughed about this today. I mean, Easter eggs are fun, that's that whole thing. But it's basically the toughest, strongest one in the kid group. If you're the fastest and you're the strongest, you're going to get the eggs with the most money in them. So go. And that's where it begins, man. At 1.5, 2 years old, you're going and seeking externally with these little fucking eggs.
Or for candy or money,
candy, candy or whatever.
Yeah, but to each their own.
No. And I if that's your gig, then great. I'm glad. I'm not knocking it, but that's where it all kinds of ties in too. My hope is that all of our videos expand your mind You know, I grew up just like everyone else. I was indoctrinated like a motherfucker, and
it's life observations that maybe other people can relate to. That's what I think we do. Yeah,
it's just you always say a new lens. You know, it's that
everyone's perspective is different, so it's I think it's interesting.
Regardless of that woman being such a judgmental asshole, I still love her. She doesn't know. You know, she just doesn't know. And, regardless of this other woman that didn't have all the things that this woman had, I love her too, equally. I see God in both of them. And it was a beautiful scene. It was something that I was supposed to talk about, being that it is the Easter holiday, I wanted to talk about the coolest example ever of forgiveness, and that's that story of the man Jesus who went against the system and was...
The Law of One actually talks about that too, and it takes an interesting perspective on Jesus's life, just for anyone who is just more curious about that. And if you it talks about self-forgiveness with the crucifixion and all these things as well, not just forgiveness of others, but self-forgiveness as well. So it's really Law of One is a great place to start.
I had a problem. The Bible says, thou shalt not have no other gods before me.
This has always gotten me.
And yet,
I never have understood
the Bible tells you to worship a man. And I just trips me out.
Okay, and this is my knowledge. What I'm confused about is growing up in the religion, going to church. I guess I've seen it more in different churches. Like, I don't know if maybe it's because I'm now living in this area of the country or what it may be, but I don't remember the Bible saying that. Directly. No, but directly say worship Jesus. And I feel like every time I look around, people are just worshiping Jesus as God.
Yeah.
Like there's a confusion that God and Jesus are, but at the same time, if we're all a fragment of, we're all.
Yeah.
I mean, so
that would be like me worshiping you. Jesus didn't want to be worshipped.
He even said that.
Yeah.
If I remember.
Yeah.
According to them.
Read the books, man. And that's another thing. I talk to a lot of Christians because they're and I ask, I'm fascinated about, I read the Bible. I like remember the one Bible verse we talked about is no man can save. No man can die for another man's sins.
Yeah, that's in the Bible.
It says that in the Bible, and yet they have this story. It's this kind of different vibe. I don't know if it's that way around the rest of the world, but here in the South, that's the story. And I just had a problem with it. I'm like, well, no, that doesn't jive. And so I started researching and doing my own stuff, and at a young age, and here I am doing.
Here we are, just talking.
Sun salutations on Easter.
Still trying to have understandings and different things.
No, the understanding this morning, and just seeing that scene happen. I mean, it could have been in a movie.
And I think the universe I feel that the universe gives us everything we need, to reminders or topics to talk about. And I just think there's a reason you saw that, whether it be a reminder, whether it be just that we're supposed to talk about this, etc. And that's true with everything in life. If you just pay attention, if you're just, I found if I'm aware
Observe
and in the moment,
without judgment.
Yeah, if I'm in the moment and I'm observing, you learn a lot about yourself and about humanity. But I have found that I have to be very observant of the moment. I have to be observant of my body. I have to be very present. Because the moment I'm not, I mean, I'm all over the place.
Yeah, you forget.
You just forget. You don't notice those.
I posted a Rumi quote a couple of days ago, and it's one I love. It's, what you see in me is a reflection of you. And Rumi was a badass. R-U-M-I. If you've never heard of him, go look him up. And Rumi was found his Christ consciousness. He was one of the most beautiful people to ever walk the face of this planet.
If you just read his quotes, I've just read his quotes, and I'm just like,
and
they're just so beautiful.
Yeah, he was Sufi, and that's S-U-F-I, and he was just a beautiful man. And that quote just rings to me. What you see in me is a reflection of you. And what that woman that was judging all three of us this morning saw in us was a reflection of how hollow she really is.
And how much she probably judges herself.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and how much pain
you could
that
see
is.
the torment. We've talked about this. You could see she's a very tormented soul. And yes, in the material world, she has all these things to decorate her world, to give you the image of, I'm cool.
But by decorating the world that way, I feel that there's an automatic attachment to it.
Yeah, seeking externally to provide joy.
If you don't have that, you don't have anything.
Yeah. You know, and it's cool. And again, she's probably, I mean, who knows? Who knows that woman's story?
You know, we don't know
We don't know that woman's story. Therefore, we fucking don't judge, because it is a waste of energy and it is a waste of time. And I think it says in the Bible, judge and be judged. And the last thing that I want to be is judged by the I do not want that in my life.
You don't want the karma that snowballs.
Yeah, I don't have time to judge. And we, you know, forgiveness is and it was an instant. I have the capability these days to instantly forgive, and you know, I've upset a lot of my family, both sides, by being who I am and being myself and being an individual. And you know, I've gotten lashed out publicly. I've gotten, you know, people want to try to tear me down, and it's cool. You know, I know you're tormented, and I know what you're seeing in me is a reflection of what you see in yourself. And so all is forgiven. It's an instant forgiveness. And
if you look at the grand scale of the world right now, you see that start. I think that's such a brilliant observation, and we say it quite often when things start to get kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of them. You know, it's a reflection of the hate is a reflection of how people feel inside. It's something that has helped me kind of work through myself and what's going on, and compassion and understanding that that's where forgiveness comes in. Because if you've never gotten the chance to open your mind, even though we have free will, that's where I'm still we have free will to choose to choose the path in life. We all have free will. But when you're heavily indoctrinated, I feel like you're not given as much of a chance.
Yeah, you know, and it's tough.
But at the same time,
but you got to respect it. And that always goes respect
free will's
the
interesting.
Yeah,
it always comes back to that for me.
Because I've always said that this would be a what the fuck existence if that didn't exist. If we didn't have the yin yang, you got to have two things to choose from. But the second quote from Rumi, somebody had posted it today. I was just outside chilling and going through my phone, and basically it said, for those that don't wish to awaken, allow them to sleep. And man, you can feel how beautiful Rumi is. You know, for those that do not wish to awaken, allow them to sleep.
Yeah, because it's not
your fucking business.
It's not. I don't think it's anyone's business to try to preach to someone else, to try to control someone else, try to force their beliefs upon them. Yeah. It's discussions and
understandings, man, and
that's a great quote.
Yeah, and I you know, but that is very prevalent in the world. You got motherfucking preacher teachers these days, you know, they want credit.
It always comes back down to individuals. Each individual has the power to change the world, change themselves, change the world, change yourself.
And how am I gonna tell this woman that was judging me in Walgreens with, you know, probably a couple $1 million net worth and everything in the material world that she wants, although that she's tormented? I could say a few things that she'd carry with her that would ultimately probably break her on down the line, because she would play them over and over in her mind. But it's not my responsibility. She doesn't want anything to do with me, and I'm cool with that. I hope you have a great day. Kind of reminds me
of how people go, again, everyone has their own choice, but go door to door to come to our church, or do this, follow what we do.
If you don't, you're a dumbass.
No, if you're, I feel if I'm drawn to something, I'm going to explore it.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone telling me to.
What to do.
And I feel that a lot of people may feel freedom if they are awakened to that and realize, wow, I've been told what to do my entire life.
Yeah, thinking for yourself is a tough gig. You're instantly shunned. It's
Well, we
tough.
talked about follow the leader in one of our episodes.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. There's games that you're punished by
not following
the leader, not being, not being.
It's really, if you step back and observe this whole thing, it's.
I don't know what else we'd be doing if we weren't kind of observing life like this.
Yeah,
I think about
I'd be
that a lot
bored
too.
as fuck.
But sorry if I got off topic there. You even took notes and everything.
Yeah. One of my favorite movie scenes of all time is, I'm going to set this up real quick. The movie is, I think I can put this in here somehow. The movie is Tombstone. And it's when Wyatt Earp and his brothers come into town, and there's this gentleman named Johnny Tyler, played by Billy Bob Thornton.
Say that one quote. Johnny Tyler.
Johnny Tyler, I forgot you were there. That's
Sorry,
Doc
if you've seen the
Holliday.
movie, I
says
love when
that.
he does that.
Yeah, that's Johnny. That's Doc Holliday.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
That's Doc Holliday right there too. When and Johnny Tyler is the egomaniacal narcissist. He's very wealthy in the town, and he is a fucking loudmouth. And Wyatt looks around. They get in. He's smoking a cigar, and he's talking to everybody. And he sees Johnny Tyler, and he sees Johnny Tyler go into a bar and cause this huge ruckus. And I have a point to this. And he walks up to him inside the bar and slaps the living shit out of him. And he says, "Are you going to skin that smoke wagon? Or are you just going to stand there and bleed?" And I just love that. I love it for the simple fact of, I always say this too, the loudest wagon is the emptiest. You see a lot of that empty vessel, loud today. And they're labeled. They label themselves. And I'll let you figure out who I'm talking about. But he slaps the living shit out of him, says, "Are you going to skin that smoking? Or smoke wagon? Or are you just going to stand there and bleed?" And that motherfucker walked out. And that was a pivotal moment in the movie where I feel I'm more of the Wyatt Earp character, slapping the living shit out of the system. And that came to me today, and I was like, yeah. Actually, I'm kind of more of the Doc Holliday character and the Wyatt Earp character at the same time. But anyways, I just...
I wanted to see what you thought about this. Angie commented, "I believe going to church is one thing, being the church is another." The first thing I thought about how your body's your temple.
Your temple, yeah.
I don't know if that's where she was going, but I really liked that comment.
Yeah,
so,
no.
Because yes,
Yeah.
like that's a whole nother way.
I ain't knocking church.
Oh no,
yeah.
no. But I'm saying, I just thought that was.
That was a strong. Yeah,
We've talked about that before, I think, and if
the body.
If I'm taking that right, I
yeah, the body is the temple. This is if you go within, this is your church.
That's where I have found connection is by going within. I feel that's how you do it, and going to churches, and everyone we are given everything in life to wake to our greatest potential and make our greatest connection and find ourselves. So I mean, if it wasn't for you being indoctrinated into church, who knows?
Yeah, I would have never. No, I've always said I love. Who knows, I love the fact of my. It was very uncomfortable growing up. It's always been tough. It's still tough. Especially now that we're doing these and they're getting out there. People are fucking talking. And I get, private messages all the time that are very mean and very bitter, and I just kind of like, give
to
them...
me, that I think we're on the right path.
Yeah,
we're doing what we're supposed to do.
I love
you gotta
it.
have,
yeah.
you got it. We're getting feedback. We'll take it.
Yeah, I know, and you see where it's coming from, though. You
observe and see. Okay.
Yeah, and you have compassion, and they haven't necessarily just they're fighting. And the greatest thing about these is that if you do watch them, you're going to start questioning a lot of things about yourself and your own labels that you give yourself. And that's the whole reason we do it. This is part of my purpose. And if you don't like them, then don't fucking watch them. I don't care, and I'm not going to stop. And we're building sun gardens.
And really, and what it comes down to, though, before you switch to the sun gardens, is we're doing this because for us, and I just think it's great that people actually are watching.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I just wanted to say thank you.
I just keep seeing comments coming through. I'm like, and we've met a lot of very kind people. A lot,
Oh my gosh.
So many people also
cool
message us, who are super kind. For every, there's more kind there than there is the negative. But I had to talk about that because we're talking about forgiveness, and we're talking about...
And by change yourself,
judgment.
change the world. Our world, you're still going to see negativity.
Yeah.
I mean, we're of the world, but not necessarily part of it.
Yeah.
So when you're of the world or of something, you're going to experience the negative too, but it won't affect you.
Because
there's no attachment.
Yeah,
there's no attachment there.
But there's so many kind people, and we want to thank everybody for all the kind words. Again, so we have a YouTube channel. We've got Cassie's lagging behind because we've been busy with the gardens. So
I have a few videos to add, but the gardens.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited about that.
Cassie started making the sign today, and
it's our own sacred place. It's for us, but we're opening it to the public.
Yeah,
and
it's very special. It's very powerful.
It feels very good, and that's all we're going for. And it's a place to reflect and to do yoga and work out.
Yeah, we put up the Rogue pull-up bar system. Although I put it up backwards, I have to take.
We did that the first. Did that the first time too. So this is the second or third time we've put this up, and it's the right.
It's done half-assedly, but we can still do pull-ups, and I don't know if y'all can see that, but I've been
see me rolling my eyes.
I've been blasting some pull-ups for a couple of days, and
me too, man. No, I just started today, and it's different. It's a whole new
journey.
I
miss pull-ups. I think done properly, it's a very
well, having the mind, body, spirit, mind, body, soul is important. It's completion.
You know what Buddha said? Chop wood, carry water. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment,
ain't nothing changed, but
chop wood, carry water. You were going to say ain't nothing changed but the limp.
That's what it reminds me of, though. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm telling you, and that's what sun. For those of you who aren't aware of who we are, where we are, sun, mind, and body. This is Cassie. And my name is Chris, and
doing a little promo here, but it's just who we are.
Promote thyself. And I'm currently in a blue dimension. I cannot figure myself. I can't figure out why, but
you have free will to choose to be in this dimension or not. So I'll just let you be.
It was the blue moon. It turned everything blue.
I don't know if anyone on our last episode we talked about energies and feeling different things. Man, was last night powerful.
Again, I want to end where we began. One of the most honorable stories I've ever heard is a story of a man
named Jesus,
who's being hung on a cross with nails, forgiving the people that did it.
For following, how I have always taken it, just following his heart.
Yeah.
He's standing up for what he
used whips in the temple, or in the church. He used whips, and back then the church and the government were hand in hand, just like they are today. And instead of using whips, we're using words. And the pen is mightier than the sword, and you're noticing every day that it is that is a very true statement. And until I feel it necessary not to do these anymore, we're going to continue to do them. And we want to thank everybody for
thank you for all of your comments, every single one.
I can't wait to go back and read them. And thank you for spending your Easter Sunday with us. Hopefully you were at the dinner table and your whole family got to watch. Not really. But yeah.
Anything else?
I have marijuana socks on. Yeah.
I have Rasta.
Yeah.
Or Black.
Sweet.
Well, no, Rasta. I'll stick with that.
Rastafari. I have a Rastafari shirt on.
We like socks.
But it's good seeing you.
Good seeing you too.
Right.
I'll see you later.
Bye.